look at this. There's a silver 120 in the workshop. Looks a little bit like that silver 120. Nice ones, like they're twins. Beautiful, look at that, except this one's got the stolen wheels on it. I've got a set of stolen wheels for mine as well, but they're not on there. Hey everybody, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. I haven't said that for a while, have I? How about bada bing bada boom, or bingo bango eat a mango? Now, first thing I saw when I opened this bonnet was this wetness around the brake fluid reservoir, and it's something that we see rarely and we haven't talked about before, so I went, bada bing, time for a video. What's going on here? Okay, we have mentioned before, we've got a brakes playlist. You probably should check that out. On our YouTube channel here, there's playlists. It's like videos I've organized into groups for you. And this would be under the brakes playlist. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture. So I'm going to assume, since that's over full, that the owner or somebody has topped this up recently and they spilt a little bit of brake fluid and they didn't clean it up. Now, it's an assumption. Brake fluid needs to be cleaned up because it's also paint stripper. So anything it goes onto, it's going to strip the paint off. So it certainly needs to be washed off, not wiped. So don't bother getting your rag, because all you're going to do is put it on the rag and then you're going to use the rag to wipe something else with paint. It's going to take the paint off. So when you see moisture like brake fluid, make sure your cap's on properly and either just pour some water over it, get your hose, your on shower, just give it a bit of a shower and you can give it a blow dry afterwards. Obviously it needs to be sealed, your cap on. Don't do that. Water, remember, brake fluid is hygroscopic. It absorbs moisture, which is water. So it reduces its boiling point over time because it's absorbing water, and water is a much lower boiling point than brake fluid. Talked about it more in those other videos in that playlist. Brakes playlist, check it out. So I've made an assumption here, but it needs to be cleaned up, because what will happen is eventually if there's a bit more and it runs down, it goes on your brake booster. And remember all the old cars and all the paint flaking off the brake booster because things used to leak all the time. Basically, master cylinders were a common problem in the old Fords and Holdens. And they used to leak out the back end there, to leak inside on your floor, but also leak down the bottom of the booster, and all the paint's gone to be all rusty. Anyway, that's all I've got to tell you about that. Let's see what else we can find here to talk about. Coolant level is a little bit low. It's something to definitely keep an eye on. So we're going to have a bit of a quick look for some leaks. Is the water pump leaking? No, because it would have had the BFE job done. Maybe it just needs a top up. It might have been run in a hot summer. Hot summer means maximum expansion to the cooling system, and it's going to push the excess out this tube here. And you might end up around the low line when the engine's cold, which it is. And when it warms up, it'll come up to the full line. But we might just chuck a little bit of coolant in it anyway. We'll just see how we go. Or the owner that's hopefully watching the videos will see this and learn and go, hey, that's my car. Because if you don't watch the videos, you miss out, because I'm going to forget. Yeah, I can't remember everything from one Prado to the next. They're all very similar. By the next day, I'm like, what did we do yesterday? Who's, whatever. So yeah, it is a bit like that. So it's worth watching the videos, because you might see something on your car that I forgot to tell you about, or that you forgot, or, you got a bit distracted and you weren't listening. Probably like me, I get distracted, easily distracted. I really do my best to listen. I do listen to people pretty well, I think, but yeah, get distracted. Anyway, what do we got? Long SCV, injectors done, bingo bango. All right, it's a twin. All right, let's have a look at these stolen wheels, mate. Look at that. How do they compare to the old flogged out 5-year-old low tire pressured KO2s that have done a few Ks? We'll have to work out how many Ks they've done soon. It's like a twin. It's got the extra airflow from K-On. Don't forget the discount code on the K-On website, 4x4 Diesel. It's got the same 4mm bash plate. It's got the transmission guard. It's got the bloody transfer case. Unbelievable all-out protection. And the fuel tank guard. It's got the full K-On kit. All the gear. And bloody beautiful. And look, you don't hit the rear tank. That's why you don't need it, unless you're really getting things wrong. A little bit of oil sweat around here. Okay, a bit of a leaking sump plug. Always works better with a light on. Yeah, that sump plug is certainly leaking. It needs a new washer. It's not the end of the world or anything like that, but yeah. Which is putting a bit of a sweat around the whole place. So new washer and wash down. So interesting info. Check your fuel hose, give it a squeeze if it's hard. Replace it if you haven't already. Oh, we got some, what have we got? Some wire or string. Someone's braid fishing line wrapped around the diff here, so we can get rid of that. What's it in for? I've got to remember what this car's in for. It's not in for an inspection. I'm just talking to you about cars. It's in because the number one priority is the handbrake's not working. So it's going to be very educational on the handbrake on these Prados, the 120 and the 150. It's in for an oil and filter change. It's in to get that rear fuel filter changed over. That's meant to be done every 20,000 Ks, and drive line lubrication. So a bit of grease, which looks like it's been pretty well looked after at the moment. Beautiful, and also getting used. That's why the dust is stuck to it. Only shoe we got. So it's got the front and rear lockers on this one. So all the gear. But yeah, that sun plug is just slowly leaking. Yeah, these tyres, I reckon they went on round 2020 or somewhere around there. I can't remember. I think they were either the ones that I paid 295 bucks each. The wheel alignment on this one, I've given it a bit of extra toe in, so it is chewing out the edges a bit. My fault, right? But they're pretty well worn considering the amount of low pressure, the places they've been. They've done a lot of Ks and hard Ks, so it'll be interesting to work out, if we can, how many they've done. So we'll get this service done. Well, it's not a service, it's an oil and filter change, and it's a fuel filter change and a driveline lubrication. And then we will pull the rear apart and have a look at these shoes and see what's going on, if they need to be replaced. And we'll give you some other information. And something to start thinking about now is, see that bit of a sweat around there? That's kind of saying that the oil might have even made it past the seal. Okay, so something to think about there. Let's have a look at this side. Maybe, so there's a bit of a sweat up, maybe not. I'd say it's never been pulled apart, but my point is, if we're pulling all the handbrake shoes off to replace those and reset up the handbrake to get it all working again, I'm guessing there could be some clips and bits and pieces missing. We might need to order. We've got a few spares here, but depends what we need. And once you've got all your brakes pulled off and all your handbrake shoes, it's only an extra 4 bolts, these nuts here, to pull the axle out, and not that hard to change the seals in the diff here at each side, because what it would do is prolong the life of these bearings by stopping the oil that's meant to be in here, but it's looking out there, from coming up, getting past that seal and washing through the bearings, which may have already started by that sweat. So as a minimum, when we're doing all the brakes, I think we'll pull the nuts off. Actually, it might have been on. It looks a bit different to the... Yeah, that looks like a genuine one. You might not pick it. Have a good look at it, everybody. That looks like a genuine one to me. This one, it looks different. That nut looks different, or cleaner, or... I don't know. I don't know if it's been worked on or not before. It looks slightly different. I don't know if it's just me. See, it's got a bigger shoulder on the... Yeah, that's a different nut. So these are the genuine nuts. What's going on here? Is it just one missing? So 1, 2. So it looks like when someone must have worked on it, because that nut's different. And I think the top one as well. No, just one. So they've lost one nut and they've replaced it with something different. So this probably, the fact that it's been worked on at some stage probably kind of tells us why that sweat's there, because they probably didn't do a good job. They might have used aftermarket seals, which we've tested in that one right there, and we know they're not good. So only use the genuine seals in the end of the diff. But look, we'll wrap up all the service lubrication type things on this one, and we'll start a new video on the rear brakes on this, and talking about changing the seals to prevent the oil coming out to wash your bearings, which will prolong the life of the bearings. Bearings, we're going to say normally about 350k, maybe more. Just keep an ear on them. They last ages once they start to get noisy, and even if you've had oil through them, then they're sort of oil lubricated. They tend to last ages as well, but they're going to start to get noisy and need replacing sooner or later. So start thinking about it at about 400,000 Ks if you haven't got any noise, maybe as preventative maintenance. Yeah, but then you might just think there's no point just doing the whole job, pulling the axles out just to change the seals. But while we're doing this whole thing, it's something that we've got to consider doing while we're at it. Anyway, enough chit chat. Catch you in the next video.